Alright, we just got done teaching the DNS course here, and I actually have a relatively strong fellow next to me, Donnie Thompson, who squatted 1265 and was the first guy to total 3,000 pounds of powerlifting. Not bad.
As an old man?
As an old man, yes, in his 40s, which is kind of ridiculous. But in talking to him, we were just kind of picking his brain, talking about applying some of the stabilizing strategies that we go over in the DNS courses, and he, by way of just using his laboratory, aka the monolift here, and practicing and seeing what works and what's the best way to stabilize so that he can actually lift a lot of weight, has figured out how to stabilize really, really well. I've worked with a lot of power lifters, and usually I get slightly different answers that aren't exactly in line with what we're trying to teach. Big Brains over here, who can squat a bunch of weight, has kind of figured this out. So if we have him pop the belt on here, which is a necessary tool. Those of you that don't like belts, a powerlifter not using a belt is like a shortstop not using a glove. They need to be able to do that. So if he's got the belt on here, close enough. There we go. If he's got the belt on here, what we typically hear is I might slide my hands this way, and I'm going to say, push your belly into my belt. Now that doesn't feel great because he could crush it. But if we look from the side, what we get a lot of times is that not only is he pushing his belly forwards, but he's also arching his back a little bit. So go ahead and press forwards. Push, push, push. He's actually kind of doing it right. Go ahead and relax here. But typically, if athletes are told, push your belly into the belt, we get a combination of arching the back a little bit, and then we're only using the spinal fibers of the diaphragm. So when the ribs are elevated, if we put that belt on way too tight, now the only part of the diaphragm that can contract is the spinal part. So it pushes the belly forwards. But if it goes forward, I can't get the erectors to shut off to allow neutral spine to happen. What Donnie here has figured out is that he's trying to actually use the belt to push him into neutral. That means that he's got to get his rib cage down so that he can start using the costal fibers of his diaphragm, and he can get the central tendon to drop straight down towards the pelvis to maximize pressure in the belly. So if we pull this shirt up here a little bit, we're going to see when he stabilizes, when he stabilizes here, if he's arched, if he stands up, he's got a little bit of extension here. But if he bends his knees like he's going to get ready for a squat, and then he braces, go ahead, you can see this actually flattens out. He's using pressure in the abdomen to flatten his spine out to get neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Let's go ahead and figure out. What that does is that's going to maximize the area of distribution in the spine, get good surface loading, and it's going to keep his pelvis in a position where he can use all of the muscles. If he's stuck in extension, he can really only use the posterior chain. If he gets into a neutral position, he's going to be able to generate better pressure in the abdomen, and he's going to be able to drive harder with his legs. So, if we get him to put this belt on again, what we want to do when we're teaching someone how to use a belt is we don't just want them to push forwards, we don't just want them to push to the sides, we want to actually have them push to the sides and backwards to allow the spine to flatten out. So if we have him turn a little bit to the side here, I don't want to just stand like this and say, crush my fingers. What I want to do is I want to have my hand back here, or maybe roll a towel up. And what we want to see is two things. Number one, we want that spine to be pushed into my fingers. So that's more posterior translation, not flexion. And we want to make sure that he can keep his spine tall. If we see him just flex down, he's doing that by rounding his back, not by pressurizing his back. Okay? So if we watch him do this, we'll keep him relatively tall, and I'll say, go ahead and brace and crush my hand here. Push, push, push. And now you can see that belt comes down as the spine flattens out, and he's able to generate full tension in the entire belt, not just the front. So this was kind of a fun experience to have such a strong guy come to this conclusion by just experimenting in his little laboratory here and lifting some pretty big weight. So thanks a lot.
No problem.